In a rapidly expanding omniverse of sci-fi content, two Terrans try to make sense of it all. From the latest to the greatest to the most thought-provoking science fiction content on the screen, we bring you Crowded Space Podcast.
This is episode 24, Total Frequency, Picard, Season 3, and I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm your other host, Jared. Yeah, looking forward to talking some Trek. Like I said before, I was like, hey, we're covering too much stuff where they're just on Earth and there's no spaceships. And
well, there you go. You got it now.
Now we got spaceships. I mean, even Mandalorian was a little light on spaceships.
Yeah,
honestly.
it was, wasn't it? You're right.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But it just sets up the reason why I'm so antsy for some good space adventures.
And Picard definitely did it.
Yeah, definitely delivered. So I'll give a shot at a synopsis, and you can pitch in and steer me if I get a little too astray, because there is a lot going on here. This is a lot more intricate than say Prey in terms of all the subplots, but. To me, the big strokes are that Beverly Crusher is calling on Picard after 20 years of being absent to essentially help them out with a situation. And long story short, that situation is that their son together, Jack Crusher, is being hunted by a bounty hunter. Yay! Everyone's favorite scum in the universe, bounty hunters. And that bounty hunter Vadic is hunting down Jack for reasons that we don't actually know until much later into the season. But spoiler alert, I'll just say right now, they're actually looking for him because he, as the son of Picard, a.k.a. ex-Borg Locutus, turns out he's got some Borg genes hiding in him somewhere, somehow, for reasons that I don't want to get into, because if I think about it too much, I'm gonna not like it.
Right.
But and along with the changelings, essentially, they've got a plot to take down the entire Federation.
Yes. And
along the way, essentially, they end up hijacking, with the help of Riker, they essentially hijack or try to hijack the Titan as it's being captained by, Captain Shaw. So in the efforts to protect his son, Jack, from the Borg collective, who's being helped out by the changelings, he kind of inadvertently gets the old team back together again.
So good.
As the
legacy team
fight to break Jack Crusher's role as the voice of the Borg to essentially mind control all of the humans at the changelings and use the teleporter to splice in the genes that will make them susceptible to the.
So all the young people were susceptible to being Borgified.
Yeah.
So it was the classic tale of young versus old.
Which, again, gave him some really good reasons for the old team to get back together and for them to use their old ship.
Yes.
And
it was good. It was great. I love how everything came together. They did a good job. So, all right. So let's go into the high
notes. And
go for it.
Okay. The last episode. Honestly, I feel like we could do a podcast on the last episode alone, just because
brilliant.
Every single old Trek bridge character essentially get their time to shine. Like, they all had their song, cool move, help save the day. Yeah. I do want to get into some of those.
Yeah, some of those are in the static, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, the finale was emotionally very gratifying. And my little quip was going to be, I felt like their justification of why this happened or who did what, they have an explanation for everything. And so that is a high note. There was no lazy writing. I will just say that I wasn't always convinced by their reason. But I want to give them full marks, A for effort.
I think this is a new writer, too, for this. They brought in a new writer to write.
Oh yeah, I read something about that.
Was, but he's a really major Trek fan, and that's why he batted 1,000 on it. like you said, every character had their moment in the sun. They had their shining moment. It was so good. The ensemble was great. It felt like I was back to watching Next Generation. I immensely enjoyed it, and they didn't treat their legacy characters as throwaway trash, which I enjoyed very much.
Yeah,
That's what
no, I
liked
got to give
about it.
them props for that.
Yeah, they respected
So again,
it.
hey, Disney, are
Hey,
you taking
Kennedy.
notes? Are you taking notes? This is how you still pay respects and homage to the old characters while
Yep.
paving way for your new IP.
Exactly.
We get it. You got to make a buck. Try not to disrespect your old characters
Yeah.
too much as you throw them out
Yeah.
with the trash.
Well, a lot of people were saying that Mando and Picard did a total flippity-do, because Mando, the first 2 seasons were amazing. They were excellent, and they pretty much saved Star Wars. And then the first 2 seasons of Picard, not episodes, but seasons, they were just not, they didn't hit the mark. And a lot of people were kind of upset by it. And then here comes season 3 on both shows, and Picard
yeah, I know, because
knocks it out of the gate.
No, because it was like episode 1 and 2 of Picard. You're like, man,
yeah, it was a little slow. I
And
will
I'm
admit
like,
it. I
you're
will
not.
admit it.
And I was like, I'm trying to be optimistic, because I'm like, the whole cast is back. This
This is
to be
your
good.
Trek right
This
here.
yeah, this is my favorite Trek. This has to be good. I'm like, well, they're just setting the table with this first couple
That's
episodes.
what
You
he
get
kept telling me.
and
He's right. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it, so I didn't have to.
No, you're right. You're right. I will say this. Yeah.
So, whose turn is it now? I kind of.
It was me.
You gave some.
So
okay.
it's my turn now, and we touched on the old crew, which that's what I have. The best thing about High Note is the season 1 and 2 of the old crew wasn't part of this, other than Raffi, and she didn't really get any. She didn't really get any sort of her time in it. Kind of played off Worf, which really went well.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
it
the
went
right
really
amount
well.
of Raffi.
Yeah.
For me, her acting sometimes just falls a little short
Yeah,
compared to
it's-
everyone else. And again,
Absolutely.
we've been fortunate. We've been watching a lot of content with top notch acting.
Yeah.
So to say that Raffi isn't up to snuff to some of the other stuff that we've been watching is not that big of a slight on the character. But when you're talking about the whole crew of the Next Generation, it's some
yeah.
big shoes to
Oh
follow.
yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
and I do think that her character, her acting or her playing her character got a lot better. It's just her jealous, unconfident Raffi. Yeah, I'm just
the
didn't
shoehorning, when they're trying to shoehorn something that's really not needed. You know what I mean?
and they finished her character arc. She's seen as a hero of the Federation again.
Yeah.
She's on the good with her family again. She gets
Yeah.
to see her grandchild. So it's like, yep. Any more Raffi? I'm like, no, that's too much Raffi.
Yeah, I agree. And that was my.
It is kind of funny though that they left it with Raffi and 7 to 9, which are still in a will they, won't they, are they kind
That's
of
what I'm saying.
relationship,
Yeah.
and she's the first officer, so it's a little bit Orville now, and I don't hate that.
Well, that's what makes it like let's go back to Strange New Worlds. That's when they have character relationships. You got to have that a little bit. You got to build on that. You know what I mean? Because then it just becomes like you're watching the military on the screen in space, and it kind of gets boring after a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Right back at you, man.
Yeah, so I think we already talked about this, you and me, off the air. But Jack Crusher as an addition to the next generation, I'm excited.
Wow.
Between him and he's no Anson Mount, but he's a great new face to Trek. And
Yeah,
I'm really
definitely.
excited what they're going to do with this character. I just thought he was a really well balanced character. Yeah, he's got this background. He's got this Borg calling that's pulling at him.
And they didn't
him.
overly do it too.
You
know what I mean? Like he could kick ass, but they didn't overly do it.
Yep. Yeah,
was
exactly. And yeah, it's just a really interesting, well-balanced character. And it's like, yeah, he's been on the edge of space. He knows how to do things, to skirt the law.
Yeah.
But he's still a kind of an honor-bound person.
Yep.
So you kind of get this. He's a little bit Han Solo-esque in that way,
I was
right?
just gonna say
He's-
that, kind of like what Riker used to be in the old days.
Yeah. Yep. And then just the relationship between him and his dad. I thought they did that pretty good most of the time as well, but I'll save the rest of that for some of our low notes. Well, what was your take on Jack Crusher? Take him, leave him?
I like him. I at first I didn't like him, but he grew on me. He kind of grows on you, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because at first you're like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know about him. And then it's like, I mean, it was blatantly obvious.
And right as he gets a little too whiny, he starts kicking some butt.
He could turn it around. He does a good job. And he held his own with the other actors, which was
yes, yeah, he did. If anything, he started to outshine them in some of these scenes too. So
yeah,
I think we've got a lot in store with Jack.
Yeah, I liked him. He was good. It's definitely a good high note for that. I guess it's back to me.
Yes, sir.
All right. The Data story arc. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that with his conflict.
So I know we give each other crap for stealing each other's points, but you don't take Data from me. You don't take Data.
All right, I'll stop there and I'll under the table I'll slide it to you and you can finish it up.
It's complete. I'm glad that you liked the Data. That is for me. That is my peak high note. That is my favorite thing about this. Unsurprising because Data is one of my favorite characters, and in general in sci-fi, exploring what it means to be human is one of my favorite topics you can go over.
So for you, it's the Data part and everything that's involved in it, and for me, for the Data, they didn't overdo it. So go ahead, tell us the Data part.
Yeah, for me, just so beautiful. When they set up essentially that all of the different positronic brained constructs made by the Soong dynasty, let's say, all went together into one sort of age android. So, okay, here's an out for Brent Spiner to still play something Data-esque without playing Data and having a reasonable explanation why he looks old.
Right.
And again, they had a pretty good explanation for that because, hey, if you truly want to live and have a human experience, you need to know what it is. Yeah, aging is just part of it, at least as our current cultural understanding. Age is part of it.
Especially when you studied it. So
yeah, exactly. Well, so that's almost like our current understanding. A lot of people would say, hey, aging is just a construct that we've created to understand why these things happen to us, and then it's not inevitable. But we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about that Brett Spiner still has it. When he switches back and forth between lore and Data, it's boom, it's lore. It's lore. Just from the twinkle in his goddamn eye, he is lore. And so that's fantastic, but it's just so beautiful, right? Everything that made Data who he is.
I'm like having goosebumps just talking
about
the whole scene.
That he willingly gave himself over to lore, and of course in doing so they became one. But I don't believe it was a trick. I believe Data truly wanted to give himself and give lore the life that he wasn't able to have, because Data's the best of us. He's the best of us.
Selfless.
Yeah, he really is the best of us. So look, I'm getting a little verklempt.
That's why I get.
Beautiful.
And for me, it wasn't overly done. It was the perfect amount of time for him to develop the character.
And they squeezed Yatasha Yar in there to round out some of the Picard.
Yeah, man. And also
crew.
Right, and then another high point too was Ro and how that whole.
That's my next one. Yeah. That they brought her back, but they gave that emotional closure to her and Picard. She was really my favorite non-main character. Yeah, actually, I loved. Again, she's a little bit of a rebel. That she's in the Federation for kind of different reasons than everyone else. Yeah. And you don't know, can we trust her? Who is she? Where do her loyalties lie? And we find out that in the long run, her loyalties weren't that far off from what Picard was. Yeah, they just didn't know how to communicate it. Yeah.
Different ways of communication, I think.
So again, I want to make sure I get this right. She was Worf's handler, who was then Raffi's handler, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got a little contrived there. Well, crap. I kind of hijacked two of yours, both Data and Ro. So it's a small little moment, but I really loved how Vadic would talk to the Borg Collective. And of course, we don't know that at the time that it's the Borg Collective.
Oh, the hand thing.
Yeah. That she cut off her hand and the hand takes the shape of, again, that it was this painful kind of sacrifice that Vadic had to do to even start the communication. It's just a cool idea. Something kind of neat and novel to me.
And of course, Worf. Who doesn't like Worf?
Yeah, no, his character arc was the biggest, I want to say, in terms of who he was.
Yeah.
And, and then there's this whole mystery of the Enterprise E, right?
Yeah.
Because he's the captain of it, apparently. They allude to that, right?
Right.
And something went wrong and he stepped down or whatever.
Yeah.
And then essentially, I don't want to say became a pacifist, but preferred peace as a solution over anything else. So
Which was really good. I enjoyed him.
and they even had a couple of little nods to his relationship with Deanna in there as well, which is kind of like you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
So that was great as well. And then again, if it was just Raffi alone,
no, I would have been like,
but
oh
her
my
and
gosh,
Worf
here we go.
was perfect.
It was a perfect play. They played off each other, and I felt like Worf was like her mentor. Right.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
the old school, showing the young blood, the new way, the old ways of doing things. It was good. I enjoyed it. So, what's your favorite scene? If we're still gonna stick in the high note real quick, what's your favorite scene? Out of
Again, it's Data
again.
having the battle in his head with Lore is really high up there. A close second is Picard making one of his biggest sacrifices that we see on the screen, actually, and him logging into the Borg Collective to get his son.
right. Yeah.
Was so momentous if you think about, and they've done a good job all along revisiting the trauma of what it is to be in the Borg Collective and what that did to Picard.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was great.
I think that's the first time we see him cry in The Next Generation is he breaks down in front of his brother. Like they took everything from me.
Yeah.
Right. When he's back at the vineyard. Yeah. How about for you?
Is when they come on the Galaxy
well,
class bridge.
okay. Yeah, again, so that's why I'm like, I gotta hurry up and watch this because my social media feed was sending me spoilers left and right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not reading
I
it,
was
but
like-
when you scroll past the picture of all the original cast on Enterprise,
It's like, oh my
you
god,
kinda
this
know
is
what's
great.
up.
This
Yeah.
is great. But and again, I enjoyed Riker because I like Riker, so I enjoyed his little thing. He kind of was in the story in the first season anyway, and showed up a little bit in this. I think he was in the second season. I think a little bit towards the end. I think but,
certainly the first, yeah.
But anyway, but I guess we're gonna go to the low notes now.
Yeah, I'm down for the
All
low notes.
Well,
You want to kick this one off?
sure. The whole holodeck scene when they're in the bar and the ship's falling into
Which
the nebula.
one? Yeah, and
The ship is falling in.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh my god, we're gonna die!" And then Picard and
to the holodeck.
Yeah, they're
I do my
hanging
best
out.
thinking.
They're hanging out on the holodeck. They're having a drink, and we're supposed to conserve power.
Again, they addressed it. They're like, well,
That's
we
not
know
enough.
that the crew needs a reprieve in times like this, so we've got extra energy for holodeck. Like,
Dude, the life support was going.
yeah, and like, wait, your life support's off, but gravity's still on. Like,
That's
you
what I'm
think-
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that threw me off a little bit. That was definitely a high.
Again,
note for me.
they
did address
props.
it, but it
they
wasn't.
tried, but it didn't hold enough water.
No, it definitely didn't.
And just in general, that holodeck bar got played out by the end. I'm like, this bar again? Do you guys don't have any other bars you like? Like,
I would have liked 10 forward at the end,
oh man.
right?
Oh, I'm sure the prop people are like, fuck you and
Yeah,
fuck you.
we're gonna-
I just made the goddamn bridge of the Enterprise from scratch in a weekend, you asshole. Now you want 10 forward?
Because 10 forward would have been awesome.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah.
I think that them playing cards on 10 forward would have been cool. That would have been cool.
Yeah, I was like, come on. And bring back Guinan to bartend
Yeah,
for
you
the
coulda-
last
you
scene.
could have
Why
just
not,
like
right?
CGI'd her in.
She's around. She's on Earth. She's around.
CGI her.
You just destroyed the Borg Collective. I'm sure she's be like, hey, let's hang out. But
the.
yeah, that's good. I'm gonna go for the emotional low note, and again, Rowanson dies. I was like, oh, you brought her back. You had
Yeah.
the healing.
Yeah.
And again, it was a worthwhile death. I might have read some rumblings that they originally were gonna have her live, and I don't know why they decided against it or whatever. But yeah, I was sad to see her go, just as I was sad to see Captain Shaw go. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering. What was your take on Shaw?
I liked him.
Right? It was so good to have you guys do some crazy shit, and you've caused as much destruction.
The voice of reason, man.
Yeah.
Because everybody's all starstruck because, oh my God, Picard crew, and the Picard and the crew are back. And you're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then this guy's like, he's the voice of reason. Dude, you guys are just, everything you do just blows everything up.
Yeah. He was kind of right about that. So, but yeah, those are two kind of hand in hand, let's say. Low notes.
And Beverly not having red hair. That's the low note for me.
Well, yeah. What was it? Was it like brunette with a gray streak or something?
It was black, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then she has so much work done, she looks younger than Jack Crusher does.
Well,
but
she looks alien. Is a problem, but that's a whole nother. I can't imagine the beauty standards of being in Hollywood and then things that you need to do to stay relevant.
She was still pretty, but she should have had red hair. That's my thing.
I'm not gonna argue on that whatsoever. As someone
that's
who
why it makes
had
a low
crush, on Beverly Crusher. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with I guess the emotional low note a little bit and bring up Riker's funk with his son's death.
Yeah.
Again, it's a low note because wow. I mean,
he did a good job.
Yeah.
Again, like that guy's doesn't act much, right? He comes back to do his major role
for a while. Frakes' like Twitter quip or something was like
he does acting classes, I think, or something.
He used to do them, just in Maine actually. Yeah. I don't know if he's still doing it. And for a while, his Twitter feed was like producer, director, and recovering actor. You know,
nice. I think he's cool. I like.
Yeah, he's very humble about his acting chops. He's actually very, very humble.
He's such a good director. Like for this stuff, he nails it.
Well, I do wonder. I'm gonna save that for Static. There's some choices that I don't necessarily agree with, and I want to see if he's responsible or not. But in general, I agree that his directing is. You could tell when he jumped in Discovery. I'm like, ooh, I might still watch this. It's not all terrible. And I guess I have to link it back to the high notes a little bit because, again, him getting out of the funk and going on adventures and seeing a new life birthed and the sense of exploration back. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Him going back to his roots to find himself and learning to not be numb and love again was so great. So, again, sometimes you do need these low notes to set up the high notes. Yes. So.
And another low, the low note for me, and this is not any sort of emotional thing. I think the Changeling was kind of like, I thought they were kind of shoehorned in there as the baddie.
I guess they've done enough with the Changelings and they've done enough with the Borg that to just dig up either one alone isn't going to move the needle. So they're like, we got to do Changelings and Borg.
Yeah, we really have to move that needle. I guess. But
I wasn't in love with the Changeling portion of it.
For me, either. For me, for being a DS, that's my DS9, Deep Space Nine is my jam for Star Trek, and the Changeling was a big thing for me. So, that's the only reason why I say that's a low note. I mean, for me, so.
I guess my other low note was, okay, Crusher, you stepped away for 20 years from all your friends. I mean, maybe you guys weren't going out like that. She wasn't buddy-buddy with the rest of the crew like we thought. But, in the original series, her and Deanna were pretty close. They shared a lot of secrets. They did a lot of stuff together. Yeah. And so for me to believe that she just cut everyone out, again, they gave some reasons. I didn't buy them. Yeah. A for effort, but
it's kind of like don't worry about.
That's not the Crusher that I know. Yeah. She doesn't just drop everyone, the whole life. But she did lose one son, kind of. Yeah. So
maybe that's what set her over the edge. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. How about you? Any other low notes?
No. I think maybe they dragged a little bit with. What was this? Not the Marauder. What was that ship that was chasing
the Shrike?
Yeah, they kind of dragged that up for me a little bit. The whole chase when they were chasing them, and then they got captured. And
oh right, well I'm gonna run with that right into our Static. Perfect. Vadic. Again, I would have mentioned her in the high notes because I love this gritty bounty hunter, not your typical, baddie whatsoever.
Yeah.
Almost the antithesis of the Federation in this big badass ship on the edge of the galaxy hunting down Jack Crusher. But man, by the time we get into episode 7 or 8, I'm like, I'm so tired of you.
Me too. Dude.
And then she just got so much screen time. I'm like, I'm just tired of looking at your face. Like, I'm just tired of looking
Smoking
at your
that
face.
cigarette.
Yeah. And then it's just like, okay, yeah, you're over the top, and that's great because you're an over the top villain. But I'm like, nah, but it was just too much. It was just too much of her.
I agree with you on that.
And then the one scene where Picard and Crusher kind of have her in a tube and she's transformed and she's crawling up from one Jeffries tube to another and they're just unloading on her point blank with phasers and like nothing, just nothing. And then not even 10 minutes later,
they missed.
I get, yeah.
They didn't have their glasses on.
They're old and shaky. I actually might believe it.
They didn't have their glasses on, man. Come on.
Yeah. So that was a tough pill to swallow. And then she freezes in the vacuum of space, like lickety split. I'm like, wait, yeah. But by the time I'm like, I'm like, please be dead. Please be dead. I'm so tired of your character. Okay, good. She cracked it to 1,000 pieces. I don't think they're going to reform.
I hope not.
I'm just gone. Yeah. And then I guess I'm already wound up when we're talking. Why destroy the Shrike? You're fighting a war against the entire Federation. You've got maybe 1.5 ships between you and your posse on the side of right.
Yeah.
Now you've just defeated your enemy that
and
has a ship that whooped the Titan's ass.
Yeah, teleporter tech or something like that.
Yeah.
Some weird.
Yeah, teleporter tech. You've got transporters. I don't know what making teleport holes does for you. You can teleport shit across space and time, but whatever.
The static.
Yeah. But yeah, why destroy the ship? Perfectly good ship. There's no reason to destroy it. Keep it. Like, throw Riker on there. Like, yeah, you get your own ship now. Yeehaw. But so that's some static for me. I'll take a breath and let you chime in.
All right. Well, I felt that because we're a little bit in the future, I felt the ships, the Federation vessels, weren't sleek enough for me. They felt like they were like Pike's, Strange New World style a little bit. I know there was like this weird like retrofit Constitution class or something, I don't remember, but I just felt that they weren't like sleek because I remember the ships in like Voyager and then even DS9 had more sleek looking ships than since it was the future, but maybe they wanted to keep it from Discovery or whatever, but I just felt it didn't have that sleekness. Like, wow.
Would you think of the Titan?
I mean, I thought it was okay. I just didn't think it was. It looked like I said, it looked like it was from Stranger Worlds, the style.
Yeah, yeah. I can totally see that.
It didn't have its own distinct style. I just felt like, oh, is this the?
At least the Shrike did. I thought.
Yeah, the Shrike was cool.
Yep.
You have another one?
Yeah. Again, I was happy that they didn't lean too heavily on the cast of characters from season 1 and 2 to make more time and space for all of our beloved classic characters.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have a Borg ally in Borg space, and then you have another Borg enclave invade your fucking solar system, how come the Borg Dr. Jurati didn't play any role in this, like, whatsoever?
I know.
I feel she could have at least like popped in and helped weaken the defenses, maybe for Picard to jack into the collective or something. It was like, come on, you've got a Borg ally and the Borg are taking over the entire humanity and they don't show up, even though her whole thing is to like be the good Samaritan Borg. Yeah. So I felt like that was
also
wasted.
They could have cut, like we said, they used like 4 episodes for the changeling, the bad guys, the bounty hunter. They could have cut some of that a little bit and brought in that Borg, like a Borg sphere or a Borg cube or something, and come in and they're like, oh my god, Borgs are here. And then was it Vedic? What was her name?
Yeah.
She's like, aha, I got you now. And then that Borg cube destroys the ship, and that's how she dies. Dude, a lot better. Could have been
something
like
yeah,
that.
I felt
with
like
the,
they could have
with
used
the good
it.
guy Borgs.
It's like, why did I
in.
watch season 2 if you're not going to use any of that? Because
Season
people
2
ask me,
was
it's like, oh, I heard season 2 Picard's kind of so-so. Do I need to watch it for season 3? I'm like, you kind of don't.
No,
You really don't. Season 1, I do think you need to watch to fully appreciate
because
season
you
3.
find out how Picard becomes.
Yeah, that he's positronic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of backstory on Data.
Yeah,
That you need to watch.
it's good. Yeah.
And again, that I guess this is the last static for me, which is that I'm torn. I love that they brought Data back, at least in some form, but we had the closure. He's like, Picard, I want to die. That's my final
Yeah, that's
frontier.
true.
Let me die.
Uh-huh.
And then they brought him back.
Before.
And again, they addressed it.
Yeah.
I just didn't buy it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I'm okay with it. Okay. Thanks, Data. And I'm like, his name shouldn't be Data. If you were equal parts Data, Lore, his Data's daughter, I forget her name. Crap. And B4, like, you should have a new name, even if it's D4
like-
or
could have
DL
been
or
like
just anything. They should have renamed
microchip
him.
or something.
Yeah.
Chip.
Oh, no. Posy. Positronic man.
Chip. Let's go, Chip. Cap. Let's go. Yes, sir.
So something. I just right. I don't think he should have been Data, especially
No, I
because
guess.
Spiner said I'm never
It would
playing
have been
Data again. But
is a brand new character, really, in the end.
Yeah.
Because it has everybody's essence, sort of, right?
But again, they leave us off with 7 and 9 being the captain of the Titan that's been rechristened the Enterprise F.
Yeah.
Rafi's first in command. And
Wait. I have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go for it.
Beverly Crusher playing Worf's position with the weapons.
Yeah.
Dude, she was better at it than any of them. And she's the doctor, man. Come on.
Well, nothing. If you know how to heal, you know how to hurt. Yeah. Again, they try to explain it. She's like, well, I've learned some things in the last 20 years.
Yeah, the medical
on the
ship she
Wild
was on
Frontier.
previously.
Yeah, but
No.
still.
Anyway, I'm done now.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now you riled me up. I agree with you. At least she had her big moment. I think her big moment could have been way better. I thought Deanna her big moment actually, instead of discovering that Jack harbored the Borg.
Yeah.
Her big moment should have been something in command.
Yeah.
Because for me, that was a huge character arc for her. She started off as tits on the bridge, and as
Jeez.
fucking Hollywood smartened up and started writing good female characters, she took the commander's test and was a commander on the bridge. And she did have her moments in Star Trek where she had to take command and get him out of trouble or whatever. I would have loved to have them bring that back instead of her just being the counselor role again. But pretty minor static. I do think it was a lost opportunity.
So the rumblings now is going back to what you were saying about Captain 7 is
and Jack Crusher as
Jack
the,
Crusher. So
the special
Star Trek Legacy, I think, is the rumblings.
right. And again, there's so much noise on the internet. I can't even tell if that's a real Paramount thing or just some fan crap
I hope it
poster
is.
that they threw out.
I mean,
there,
I don't know if they're gonna
hey,
call it that.
It wouldn't be the first time. Yeah, I'm not.
But I would love.
Not in love with the name,
yeah.
but I'm in love with the idea. And obviously, they're thinking something along that line. That's why they set
Dude,
all that
I love
up.
the crew,
So,
man. The crew's awesome.
Yeah,
Good
yep.
crew. Yeah, I totally watch that.
And then it still opens up for cameos from Riker and the old crew, and hopefully some more Data.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
Yeah,
or Chip,
see some-
whatever we're gonna call him. Well, I don't know if there's any other closing comments on your end.
Amazing.
but
Watch it.
I think we'll both say that anyone that's a fan, okay, if you're a fan of Next Generation, must
watch
watch TV. If you're a fan of Star Trek, you're probably gonna want to watch this.
Yes.
If you're a fan of sci-fi in general, I'm so biased because of my love of Next Generation. I couldn't possibly say. Honestly, I couldn't
That
possibly
was your
say.
sci-fi,
There is
man.
some great special effects,
Yeah.
some great acting.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty.
A lot of space stuff, like going in the nebula and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of character arcs and development and reflection. There's some meat on that bone.
Yeah. Yep.
So what are you doing? Stop listening to the Crowded Space podcast and tune in to Picard.
And come back.
And then come back and listen to this again to see how your life has changed.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, as we all know, it's not the destination.
Look at that. He brought it back. It's the journey.
Yeah, baby!
See you later.